Coming up, the Honor 6 Plus, another phone you can't get in the U.S. RocketSkates, Brian Burnett will risk his life, and I'll show you the latest Chromebook from Samsung. It's time to watch before you buy.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Before You Buy is brought to you by Cashfly at CACHEFLY.com. Before You Buy is brought to you by Blue Apron. Blue Apron will send you all the ingredients to cook fresh, delicious meals with simple step-by-step instructions right to your door. See what's on the menu this week and get your first 2 meals free by going to blueapron.com/twit. That's blueapron.com/twit. And by Prosper. Prosper is a peer-to-peer lending marketplace that connects people who are looking to borrow money with those who have money to lend. Visit prosper.com/twit and receive a $50 prepaid Visa card when you get a loan. Welcome to Before You Buy, the product review show here at Twit, where we get the latest and greatest and we give it to our lovely staff, and we give them a chance to bang on it and tell you what it would be like to actually own one of these in person. Miriam Jouar is here. We always give her the hot new phones. Actually, she gets them and brings them to us. Hi, Miriam.
How's it going, Leo?
You changed your shirt.
I did. It's Yola.
It says Yola.
Yes.
Before it said something else. Just minutes ago.
I changed. I took my hoodie off, and it said Fresh Meat on the hoodie.
Fresh Meat. I like that.
Fresh Meat is a dance troupe in San Francisco.
Oh, is it?
And Yola.
Are you in it?
No. And Yola is a smartphone manufacturer out of Finland. As you know, they do the Sailfish OS.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Has that Yola tablet was kind of like a crowdsourced. Is that yet in production?
I don't think so, because I haven't seen one, and I'm good friends with them. I figure they would have sent me one.
You'll get one soon.
Yeah, I hope so.
You're going in a couple of days. You're going to Barcelona for Mobile World Congress.
I will be in Barcelona for Mobile World Congress. It's going to be
some teasers. The Galaxy S6.
So we've got the Galaxy S6, potentially
it's going to be all metal, thin,
for
beautiful.
Sure.
Yeah.
All metal, because they did the Note 4 metal, they did the Alpha metal. Right. But there's potentially two variants. One with the Edge screen, like
on both sides.
Yes, on both sides, like the Note Edge, but both sides.
And so you can't hold it without putting fingerprints on it in any way.
No. But you know what's interesting is the carriers apparently have seen this phone behind closed doors.
Yeah.
And are now saying it's more elegant and sexy than the iPhone, which is a big, bold statement, right?
Yeah. And then we're going to see an M9 from HTC.
I'm a huge HTC fan.
Me too.
Girl.
I love the one. I had both the M7 and the M8.
M8, and this is the M9, and it looks like an evolution on the original design. I'm very excited about one version has silver back and gold edges.
I thought that looked beautiful too.
That looks really sexy, right?
I don't like gunmetal gray. I want gold in my phones.
So the other thing is, the rumors are it has a Snapdragon 810 and 3 gigs of RAM, just like the LG G Flex 2, the Korean version I showed last week.
Won't the Galaxy S6 have a 810 as well? Yeah.
Probably. No.
That's right. Samsung had problems with the 810.
Yes.
They were the vendor that said it was heating.
Well, I think that's a lie. I think they just wanted to put the Exynos in there.
Yeah, that's their own process.
And probably 2 or 3 gigs. You have to understand the thing with a lot of the U.S. carrier phones don't get the 3 gigs and the better processors.
I wanted to ask you about
cost.
that. Because you had the G Flex 2.
Yeah.
Last week,
yes.
And you said this one had 3 gigs of RAM, but I've read some that say it's only 2 gigs.
So the one
of
I
RAM.
have has 3 gigs of RAM and has 32 gigs of built-in
But that was the international model.
That's the Korean model that I had. The U.S. model is likely to have 2 gigs of RAM and 16 gigs of built-in storage,
so
micro SD, of course. You know.
But that keeps the price
down. They save $50, you know, or something. Yeah. So hey,
carriers want that.
Carriers want that,
and presumably the N9, same thing will happen.
I hope not. Like I hope HTC does the right thing and gives us the best version.
Yeah,
right? But maybe.
Now, one thing that we don't usually see, there are a lot of phones coming out in China from companies like Xiaomi, Huawei.
There's also
ZTE, Meizu.
ZTE, thank you.
So these companies make phones for the Chinese market only. They don't try to get in the U.S. market.
Correct.
I thought the Mi 4 and the Mi Note were very interesting from Xiaomi. I've never seen a Huawei phone. This is a Huawei?
Yeah, so I mean, people are not used to Huawei in the U.S. being a high-end flagship phone manufacturer. This is kind of one of their flagships.
Gosh, it looks a lot like the iPhone 6.
So it's interesting because it's actually called the Huawei Honor 6 Plus.
And like the iPhone 6 Plus, it's only 5.5 inches.
It's 5.5 inches, 1080p. And look, it looks in terms of industrial design a lot like an iPhone 4 did.
Oh,
You see that?
interesting. Yeah.
iPhone
Kind of
4 or 5,
square-
I guess
square
5.
edge. Yeah.
5 or 4. And then it ends here, very interestingly, kind of like down with a plastic
That's
edge.
the plastic, and that's for the antennas probably,
Correct.
right?
Yeah. And so what's
They
interesting...
also have the brake that the iPhone 5 had on the side there.
And what's interesting about this particular device is that it's really quite awesome, but you can't get in the US at all. Like, and if you import it to the US, it's a dual SIM phone, first of all, which a lot of the phones in China are. It has LTE, but the bands are in no way, in any way, shape, or form compatible with any LTE we could get here in the US.
Something to remember when you buy an international phone is it may not be compatible with it.
So this has 3G compatibility for T-Mobile and AT&T.
That's, you know what, that's okay.
And it's HSPA plus 42, which is pretty damn fast.
The T-Mobile HSPA Plus, partly because you're not getting
really
any
great.
competition, actually is pretty darn fast.
Exactly.
I'm happy with that.
But the reason I brought this phone to you guys is not because it's a Chinese phone, but it's because if you can see here in the back, it's a dual camera in the back. As we've seen,
what's that?
We've seen the Duo, right, from HTC.
That was a
on the
3D
M8,
camera, right?
Yeah, but this is not at all that here.
Oh, that wasn't 3D. That one, there have been 3D
so there's
cameras
been
on the
3D phones from HTC and others.
But on the M8,
and then the
that was a
M8
depth
was
sensor,
a depth
right?
sensor.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the full camera, the second camera. What they've done here is they've put 3 cameras total that are 8 megapixels on this phone. 2 in the back, 1 in the front. So it's great for selfies. They're all pretty much identical specs. And what's really interesting is with these 2 cameras, you can do variable aperture. So you can change the focal length to like f/1 to, so not focal length, aperture from f/1.0 roughly, all the way to f/16
So
in software. While you shoot and after the fact.
So later you can change the depth of field.
You can refocus and change the depth of field.
Interesting.
It's really cool. I'll show you right now.
And it does that with 2 cameras.
Correct.
All right.
And it also gathers more light and low light because it has 2 cameras, twice the pixels.
So are they interpolating the images from
correct.
the 2?
And it's amazing. So this is the reason I wanted this phone, and I want to show you a little bit. So you get a couple of camera modes here.
Do these Chinese manufacturers use the same Sony sensors as the
I have really no idea what they use. You want to put maybe a sheet of paper or something?
Put something with a lot of detail.
Do we have like a cool...
cool.
What we want is actually this is good. What we want is something that we have some depth of field in the back as well as like this is good.
I'll do that.
So there's a wide aperture mode that I've just selected. Can we see this on the camera right now? Yeah, there we go. So wide aperture, and if I select here, you can see this kind of diaphragm. You see it? I'm going to
it's got a manual control for aperture.
Aperture.
All right.
So you can change the aperture from f/0.95 all the way to f/16.
By the way, f/0.95 is a very wide aperture,
and it's very shallow depth of field.
Even on a DSLR, that would be a very expensive lens.
Let me actually shoot this maybe with your hand in the way, so we have multiple depths here.
So we'll have 3 planes. We'll have the chat room, this piece of paper in my hand.
Here we go. And I'm going to shoot. And so what we're going to get now is a picture that after the fact I can change stuff on.
Well, let's see. Now, we've seen this kind of variable focusing on Lumia phones.
Yeah, so watch. So now I can...
my hand's in focus.
I can first of all pick the focus mode. So it's going to be a little dimmer for the camera. I don't know why, but it goes in a dimmer mode here.
Okay.
So watch. I can go like this, and I can select the paper and be in focus.
Oh, it's now in focus. My hand's out of focus.
Let me actually just bump
the depth of field's beautiful in the bokeh.
Let me just bump the brightness real quick so that we can...
Because it really does dim it, doesn't it?
I want to crank the brightness a bit so that we can actually use this.
This is Android 5.0?
No, not even close. This is 4.4.2 or something.
KitKat? It's not even KitKat.
I don't think it's even KitKat. So here you go. We can see it better now. So I can pick the hand, right? And it's in focus. I can pick the paper and it's in focus. I can pick the chat room and it's in focus, right? But here's the killer, watch.
Now, I have to say, we've seen this on Lumia and other phones before, but this is so much better.
I can focus everything if I want. Now everything's in focus.
Because it's f/16.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. And then I can go back to like maybe an in-between step. If I can find this, like
that's very interesting.
And after the fact, and then you can save that resulting file into a JPEG. And so that's one of the cool things about this phone. And then let me show you some that I've already taken so you have a better idea what I'm talking about here. There we go. Hang on, I got to find the...
There we go.
So I got a few here. I took
some of those night shots were pretty dim.
Yeah, so here, this one is a really great example.
Liquor bottles on a shelf.
Right? So I go into the mode where I can select this.
So even after the fact, you can continue to do this.
I can pick this bottle or that bottle.
So even after you've saved the photo
this
out.
One back here. Hang on. There you go. And then this one back hello, hello, back there. Anyway, you get the idea. And I don't know why I'm holding, there we go. I was having 2 fingers on the screen. That doesn't help us. And I can go to the back here and focus on the back bottle. And of course I can do everything in focus. And a little bit less in focus. And night shots are pretty amazing. Let me go back to the regular mode. So night shots, this thing has the ability to set the duration of your shots. So you can do long exposures like this, where the bus is super long, because I held this super steady. I rested on a tripod, actually. But look at the quality of the light it gathered. This is ISO 100.
Wow.
Right? Look at it.
Wait a minute. You can get a shot like that at ISO 100?
Yes, because
you've
long
opened it wide
exposure
up.
and this dual camera, you get twice as many pixels.
Goodness.
So I'll show you this mode real quick. There's this night mode, which you have to select. It's kind of a bit
shame they
convoluted.
Don't have lollipop
So
on.
super night mode here. You see this auto setting down here? If I tap on that, I get, here, I'll show you. I get to choose exposure and ISO. You see that? See the values I can choose? So I can make long exposures up to, what, 32 seconds? Or some ridiculous number? Where is it? No, that's 32 seconds. So I can set the ISO to 100. And here we go. So we have ISO 100, 32-second shot. So, you know, if I want right now, I can take a shot of us and have lots of artistic fun with it.
What is the chance that other manufacturers will have technology like this at some point?
I hope that's the reason I wanted this phone. Is I'm really hoping that they'll execute on this and we're going to start seeing this on other phones, because it's really the future, I think, of photography. The biggest challenge with a camera phone is that you can't have variable aperture, because the lenses back here have fixed aperture. So now all of a sudden, by putting 2 of these, you get better low light, and, you know, because we know it's not about megapixels. It's ultimately about being able, like Nokia has shown us they can simulate an analog zoom using pure view pixels with large arrays, and you zoom in and you have lossy zoom. And this shows us you can simulate aperture. So this, and Nitro has shown us what you can do for focusing.
What are the are these different apertures, the 2 different sensors?
There's no technical information what they've done, but my gut feeling is one is probably f over 2.0 and one is f over 8.0 or something, and then they can go a little beyond that in software, and it's very clever, really. So that's kind of what I'm excited about on this phone. And to be frank, there are many other things about this phone that are really delightful. It is a really nice high-end phone overall. I'm going to change the brightness back to a little more friendly. So it comes with this really weird launcher, but you can thankfully replace it with the Google Now. This doesn't have an app tray. Every app is on the launcher.
Oh, that's weird.
Which is really odd. And so that's a bit of a pain, but it's very easily fixed. You just go.
It's iPhone-y, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
This looks like an iPhone.
But here, you go into here and you can change it to the app, the Google Play one. Watch.
So if you
Manage
chose
apps.
your own launcher and customized it, you could make it look up to date.
I found a way to change that. It wasn't working before, but if I go into here, I can change it to Google Now launcher and change, and then guess what? Now it looks like a Nexus with Google Now here and app tray here, right?
You'd have to use the camera app that it came with, I think.
Yeah, but you pretty much have to benefit from it. Otherwise, if you use the default Android app or like Camera FE5, which is one of my favorite, no, it just lets you use the camera as it normal.
Right.
I mean, it still probably uses both sensors to create a night shot, but you don't get that adjustability that I showed you guys in night shot. The other thing I want to really point out quickly to wrap it up is some of the specs on this phone, so people have an idea. So it's using Huawei's own chip, a high silicon 8-core, octa-core processor that's pretty much equivalent to like a high-end Snapdragon 800-ish in terms of specs. 3 gigs of RAM, only 16 gigabyte of storage, but there's a micro SD card slot in here. Again, this is LTE, but the bands are not compatible with the US. So as you can see there's dual slots. I have one slot up there that's set to 3G AT&T, and the other one's empty. And yeah. I mean, it's a gorgeous display. It's an IPS panel, as you can see.
Why don't Chinese manufacturers offer these phones in the U.S.?
Because they don't have a brand. That is why Lenovo bought Motorola and is going to continue selling basically their phone as Motorola's, because they have no way to get in. And also, there's a whole issue with the government, right? Like, people don't trust the Chinese to not put some sort of spyware in here. And And I think personally it's silly because they make wonderful hardware and wonderful product. This phone doesn't sell for a lot of money either. It's in the $400 range.
That's the other amazing thing.
And
of course, the market
I mean,
won't
look, it's
allow it.
metal. And, you know, the cool thing is dual SIM. And one of those SIM slots is either micro SD or nano SIM. You have a choice. So you can either have 2 carriers connected or some extra storage. One of those SIM slots converts into one or the other.
They do sell in Australia, according to Bleak, so they're not unusual outside of China.
They
it's just
are
the US.
not, you know, it's just the US. Like, we're not going to get infrared sensor up here so that you can use the remote control.
I
So,
love that.
like, in terms of specs, it's a high-end it's a high-end phone. There's nothing unusual about it in that sense. But, yeah, it's running a bit of an older version of Android, and it's obviously not available. And if you get it to use it here, you're only going to get 3G on it.
So it'd be silly for me to say try, buy, or don't buy because you can't
I mean,
buy.
look,
This
I
is a
would
can't
say
buy.
buy if you're in the right part of the world,
Yeah.
like Australia or China. I would say try if you are one of those people who goes through a lot of phones and imports them on a regular basis. I bet you this thing on eBay is worth more than $400.
Can you go to places like Expansis and
I'm not sure
Alibaba and buy these
I'm not
things?
sure if this one is available on Expansis, but
Alibaba probably is.
Probably is.
Yeah.
You know, Negri Electronics used to be around and import these things. I don't know if they still do.
Interesting.
And then, yeah, I mean, I would not, I wouldn't say don't buy because it's a great phone. Everything about it is nice. It's snappy. It's got,
I think we're going to
all
add
the specs.
a new one called
buy if
Can't
you're,
Buy.
Oh, can't buy.
We're gonna
I
add a
like
new-
that.
Yeah. It's not buy, try, or don't buy. It's can't buy.
So here
For the Huawei Honor 6 Plus. Miriam Jouar, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it. Very cool phone. And have a safe flight to Barcelona.
Yeah,
we look forward to live reports from the
I'll,
Mobile World Congress.
yeah, I'll try to get you as much kind of video snippet coverage that you guys can like put into
Yeah, we'll find
broadcast.
places. Believe
For sure.
me. Mike Elgin will also be there, and we'll have live coverage of Mobile World Congress, the best coverage we've ever done, starting Saturday when the first events begin. And, of course, Mobile World Congress itself begins on Sunday, March 1st.
Definitely, yeah.
And we'll see you when you get back. Thank you,
Yeah,
Miriam.
thank you.
Our show today brought to you by our good buddies at Blue Apron. You know, the Blue Apron, when you wear a blue apron at the Cordon Bleu cooking school in Paris, that means you're an apprentice, you're a learner. And Blue Apron adopted that as their logo because it's a great way to great meals, to learn how to cook great meals without doing any of the shopping or the prep. They ship it to you, all the ingredients you need to cook fresh, delicious meals, step-by-step instructions, too, on a nicely laminated card. So you feel like you're at Cordon Bleu. We all love to eat. It's hard to find a meal that doesn't have a compromise somewhere. Is it a good value? Is it quick to prepare? Is it healthy and delicious? Pick one or two, maybe. Nope, not at Blue Apron. Blue Apron makes cooking delicious meals easy and fun by delivering fresh, ready-to-cook meals right to your door. We've loved this. Look at the stuff we've made. The za'atar, spiced steaks, the Italian wedding soup, one of my favorite. Never made it before, though. Miso yuzu glazed cod, roasted poblano chilaquiles, sumac roasted sweet potato and farro salad. For date night, for friends, they have a family pack, too. And for less than $10 a meal, you'll get all the fresh ingredients you need, perfectly proportioned. You'll get the step-by-step instructions, beautifully printed pictures. You know exactly where you're headed. It makes cooking healthy meals really easy and fun without a trip to the grocery store and no waste from unused ingredients. Blue Apron, perfect for an amazing meal for your friends, your loved ones. I think for date night. What a romantic. And you know what? I know you're setting up false impressions, but hey, it's okay when you're dating. You want to impress. Every meal is balanced, 500 to 700 calories a serving. So yummy, you'd never know. Cooking about half an hour. We're not talking a long time. The shipping is free. The menus are always new. You will not get the same meal twice. And they'll work around your schedule. Don't worry. You're not going to have a Blue Apron box, sitting on your doorstep for days. They refrigerate them so they're fresh. And your dietary preferences, too, they'll honor those. Blue Apron's experts source only the best seasonal ingredients for incredible meals like spicy Asian chicken soup or dried rigatoni with ricotta cream, Meyer lemon, and spinach, pine nuts, and raisins. Wow! I can't do this ad. Every time I do this ad, my mouth waters. I start to talk like this. It's so good. Blue Apron, a better way to cook. Check out this week's menu. You'll get your first 2 meals free if you go to blueapron.com/twit. We love these guys. This is, ask Denise how she does this practically every day for her family. blueapron.com/twit for your first 2 meals. Free. Chad Johnson, we gave him, I thought sounds like it's a comic book product, so I'm going to give it to Chad. The K-Tor pocket socket hand crank generator. I can't decide, is this something from Roadrunner or Superman? Or both? Chad Johnson has the details.
Hello, my name is Chad. I'm with Twit and Before You Buy, and today I am reviewing the Pocket Socket. This is a portable charger for cell phones, iPads. You could plug in just a normal light and have a light to read by, I guess, while you turn this crank, or external batteries. Basically anything that you would plug into a wall, you could plug into the Pocket Socket. Now, the whole device is pretty simple. It also comes with a yellow emergency band, which you would use to drop over the Pocket Socket so that it will travel nicely like that. In terms of features, it features a really nice long crank. There's other cranks out there like what you would normally find on a combination flashlight radio. Those are very normally small, and this is a very, very large crank. Also, something that you could really hold on to with your entire hand instead of just a few fingers, which is really nice when you're using this for an extended period of time. There's just a standard US style plug on the end here, and this will charge at the same rate that a wall socket would as well. That's how much power it generates, which is substantially more than other competing generators on the market. So you can imagine how long it would take to charge your device, because it's basically the same amount of power. If it takes you an hour to charge your phone, it'll take an hour of cranking in order to get your phone fully charged. When or why would you use this? Well, of course, in an emergency situation, or if you're traveling, say camping, or in a country that doesn't have standard, power all over the place, you can use this to bring your devices back to life. Now, the price is $64, $65 really, $64.95. And you can find this basically all over. Now, some of the pros and cons. Pro is that it has a very large and long crank, which is great. A full hand hold when you're cranking, and good, strong power output. Now, in the cons, I didn't love that the turn of this crank is sort of below your arm. So anytime that you crank, it's sort of a weird motion. If this could have been in the center, it would have helped you, this pendulum wouldn't quite throw you off all the time. And I wish that it locked into place with a more elegant solution than a rubber band. This is okay, but the crank could easily move while this is in your backpack. Buy, try, don't buy for the Pocket Socket. This is made by K-Tor. I'm going to give this a buy. I liked it. It came in handy a few times. It's small enough to just throw in your backpack, and it's not too expensive. And it does as advertised, which is fantastic. I've been Chad for Twit and Before You Buy, reviewing the K-Tor Pocket Socket.
It's K-Tor.
K-Tor.
The Pocket Socket hand crank generator. Chad likes this. He says for the zombie apocalypse, you'll be ready.
Important.
You know what else is important in a zombie apocalypse? The ability to speed. I've noticed in the zombie games like Left 4 Dead, you can wade in there with a crowbar or run away. That's my plan. These would be perfect for it. Brian Burnett, our technical director, takes a look at, we saw these at CES, the RocketSkate.
This is Brian Burnett from Before You Buy, and today I'm taking a look at the Action RocketSkates. These little Professor X looking wheelchairs strap to your feet and have a top speed of 12 miles per hour, which is terrifying when you have these hooked onto yourself. Each one weighs about 7 pounds. They have a 50-watt motor, electric motor powering them, and they have about a 45-minute ride time, which equates to about 6 miles, and it takes about 60 minutes to charge them fully. They come in at $500, and they do feel pretty high quality. All the pieces of plastic and the straps feel like pretty solid. But once you get these onto your feet and you start riding around, it does take a little bit of practice to get used to before you feel anywhere near safe on them. It does come with a mobile app, and you can connect to the skates and see how far you've traveled and see how much battery life they have. You can step on your tiptoes to kind of walk around on them without using the electric motor, but it's definitely a little awkward. Each skate has a little power button on the very back of it, and that's what you'd use to turn it on. And, well, overall, they are just kind of scary. The pros for this skate is that they're fun once you get used to them, but the cons are there's a steep learning curve. The price is $500, and there are 2 other models that are more expensive with more range. And if I were to give this a buy, try, or don't buy, I'd have to say don't buy, because as novel as they are and kind of silly, I don't think I would want to drop that much money on something that will potentially kill me. This has been Brian Burnett from Before You Buy. Thanks for watching.
I can't believe we let Brian do that. I mean, does our insurance cover putting employees on rocket-powered skates? I think not. I'm glad you're all right, Brian. And we must say this is not, as fun as it is, not a great idea. From Acting Global, the RocketSkates. You know, at $500 to break your behind, that seems a little steep. I'm going to take a look at a new Chromebook in just a second, but first a word from our friends at Prosper. Prosper is kind of one of the promises of the internet is we'd have kind of friction-free marketplaces, that suddenly everything would be a lot easier because you could connect directly, no more middlemen. And it's happened in so many areas. Here's an area I'm thrilled about losing the middleman, and that is in borrowing money. I mean, you don't want to borrow money from friends or family. You don't want to go to Jersey to borrow money. You probably don't want to go to the bank to borrow money, but why not go to Prosper.com? Prosper is a marketplace that brings people with money to borrow together with people who have money to invest. They offer low rates, fixed rates, without the high fees of a traditional loan, without the potential hurt feelings of a loan from family or friends. The internet is amazing. I mean, changing the way we hail a cab. It's changing the way we get a hotel room. It's changing how we borrow money at Prosper.com. Up to $35,000 in as little as 5 days to pay off high-rate credit cards, to fix up the house, to plan a vacation, spend anything you need. And, you know, if you don't believe me, the very simple thing to do is go to Prosper.com/twit and check your rate. It will not affect your good credit. Prosper, and you see how little they ask for. Prosper.com/twit. Get your rate today. Find out how much it would cost, how much you can borrow. I think you'll be impressed. Friction-free lending, that's what I call it. Right now, Prosper is offering Twit viewers a $50 Visa gift card when you get that loan, up to $35,000 in just 5 days. Go to Prosper, Prosper, Prosper.com/twit today. Every time I boot up Chrome OS, and Miriam, you're a Chrome OS fan.
I'm a big aficionado of Chromebooks.
You have the
I have
Pixel?
Yeah.
So this is the one that Google makes that is, all, you know, like $1,300. I mean, is really expensive. But it's metal. It's got a touch screen. There's got a lot of really nice features. And I brought it out because I wanted to compare it to the latest $300 Chromebook from Samsung. One of the first things, and I don't need to tell you too much about Chromebooks. I'm sure you know already the details. It's a OS from Google that is based on the Chrome browser. Anything a Chrome browser can do, you can do in Chrome OS, but nothing else. It doesn't it doesn't allow you to install apps or anything. They all have to be plugins for Chrome. So, in fact, if you want to know what would it be like to use Chrome OS, just launch Chrome on your computer, on your Mac or your Windows PC, and then don't use anything else. That's what it's like. On the other hand, what I love about this, and every time I set up a new Chromebook, I kind of go, wow, that was easy. All you have to do is turn on the Chromebook, enter your Google credentials, and boom, all your bookmarks are there.
Everything.
The way you've got it set up to look, all of your apps. And Google has really done a lot to make Chrome more and more like a real operating system, including the little app drawer here that holds all of the installed apps. They call them apps. They're really just
It's
Chrome
interesting
extensions.
you brought that up because, you know, if you were to install Chrome on your Windows or Mac right now, you wouldn't. There's some functionality.
No, you do
that
get this.
You get this, but it's a it's a kind
think
of
it's
an
not as
add-on.
nice?
I don't
Yeah.
think it's actually nicer on Chrome, this part.
Yeah. Settings are all in the system tray down here on the right, if you don't mind me using a Windows term. And one of the settings that I think makes a Chromebook extra special is in the advanced settings. It's called Power Wash. Power Wash takes the Chromebook and wipes it, brings it back to the way it was when it came from the factory, including deleting all your data, your logins, and everything. And that's what makes a Chromebook so special. Because, first of all, it's somewhat secure anyway, because you can't install unsafe extensions. You can't download malware. If you heard about the the problem people have with their Lenovo laptops, there's no super fish on here. There can't be. This is all Chrome, all from Google. But if you should at any time feel like, oh, I'm a little unsafe, you just power wash it and you're back. It automatically updates, which is really nice.
And it does it really well too. Like it just does it in the background.
All clean.
It puts up a little icon on the bottom here that says
update.
Update's ready. And whenever you feel like, you click on that button and it reboots.
If you're a Google Plus user or Google Now user rather, you'll get your Google Now notifications in the little system tray here. Anyway, we don't need to go on and on about Chromebooks. People are used to them. Let's talk about what's specific on this one. This is Samsung's most recent edition. They call it their Chromebook 2. It feels like they've had more than 2 generations, but it is very much a Samsung product, right down to the faux stitch plastic that you'll see on the Galaxy phones. And
Note 3.
The Note 3. Not the Note 4, interestingly enough, but on the Note 3. It still survives on the Chromebook. But look how thin it is, how light. A very, very comfortable feel. This is a 13-inch screen, high def. What I also like about it, no touch, by the way, is it's got very good battery life. Samsung's claiming 8 or 9 hours. It's roughly twice that of the Pixel. That was one thing that I didn't like about the Pixel because it's an older, frankly, processor. This is a very fast Samsung Exynos processor, what they call an octo-core. I don't know if you need 8 cores of processing on a Chrome browser. You open a lot of tabs, Miriam.
Well, tabs are about RAM on Chromebooks, and the CPU speed is really like a dual-core Intel Celeron performs about the same as an 8-core ARM. Like ARM isn't quite as oomphy.
I don't know why you would even need 8 cores, but you can. You can, and contrary to what Microsoft and its Pawn Star ads implied, you can use this offline. There are offline versions of Google Mail and so forth. You can't do Google searches offline, but a lot of the work that you like to do can be done offline on this. The screen is pretty good, and you can see not great at an angle. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's certainly bright enough, and you can turn it up to even brighter. That's as bright as it gets, and I think it's very legible. 1080p, no touch. I miss touch a little bit, but we have to remember that the Chrome OS really isn't designed with touch in mind, so it's not like you need touch. For a student at $299, 16 gigs of storage, 2 gigs. I think it's 2 gigs of RAM. Now I have to pull up the specs.
I think you're right. It's 2 gigs.
Is that right?
Yeah. The high-end Chromebooks all have 4, and the lower end.
No, this one's 4 now.
Wow,
this one's 4 now.
Nice.
For $299. That's right.
So this is good for tabs. If you open a lot of tabs, you
could have a lot
RAM.
of tabs. I've never understood the tab fetish, but people do have it. 4 gigs of RAM, the Octa 5800. That's an 8-core. 16 gigs of storage isn't a lot, but you do, of course, as with all Chromebooks, get 100 gigabytes of Google Drive. You could add to that. I've got a terabyte of Google Drive.
You don't really store anything on a Chromebook.
Put it on here.
And
it
has micro SD on it.
That's kind of neat, too.
So
we have a USB cable, a microphone headset connector, USB connector, another USB connector here, HDMI, and under here, not an SD card, but a micro SD card slot. So you could add up to 64 gigs of additional
Yeah, it's great.
RAM.
You know what I love about these entry-level priced Chromebooks, personally?
You could lose them and don't have to feel bad.
No, there's that, definitely. But I think compared to a tablet at the same price, a lot of people are like, why wouldn't I buy a tablet? Because this gives you the typing and trackpad experience of a Mac at $299. And if all you're doing is spending your day on the web browser, which a lot of people do, this is awesome.
People kind of forget that most of what they do really is in a browser now.
The keyboard
email,
is so good on this phone.
Yeah, and so high recommendations. The keyboard is as you say, very much like a MacBook. It's the short travel kind of chiclet style keys. I like it a lot. The trackpads are much improved over earlier Chromebooks. this is as good as as any trackpad on any PC.
I would say that the trackpads on most Chromebooks are better than the trackpads on most Windows machines.
Cheap Windows machines for sure. Now, this is more expensive than something like the HP Stream. It's $299, but I think a really good choice for anybody who wants Chrome OS, whether it's whether you're an individual who just doesn't need more than a browser and wants the security of Chrome OS, a student for school. This is a great choice. I'm really a fan of. I've turned around completely. I really see the value of a Chromebook. And I have to say, this is certainly one of the best ones out there. On the Pros, great keyboard, great trackpad, lightweight, 4 gigs of RAM means lots of tabs just for you, and an 8-core processor means you're not going to run out of steam. It also has pretty decent battery life for a Chromebook. Samsung is saying about 8 hours. You can see I have 6 hours and 47 minutes left with 93%, so that pretty much confirms that. The cons, it isn't a touch screen. It's a little bit lower res screen than perhaps a Chromebook Pixel. I don't find it that a disadvantage, but you can. I think it's IPS. You can kind of see the
It has a
pixels
matte
on it.
screen, which I think is great.
Matte is nice, isn't it? It doesn't glare quite as much as say. Watch all the glare you get on.
Look,
this. You could
it's
use
Leo.
this as a mirror.
Hello.
Hey, everybody. That's the Pixel. So yeah, I like the glary screens myself.
Was it
but
a
if
buy
you want
for
a
you?
matte screen, absolutely a buy.
Yeah.
On the Samsung. This is the Chromebook 2 from Samsung, except for the stitching. That's another con, but not a big con. What it does have is it's not slippery. Some Chromebooks are a little bit slippery.
I think also not going to scratch too easily. It's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like this
It's a nice
rubber-coated
surface.
soft touch
Yep,
finish,
yep.
right?
Good
Yeah.
sound, good image, good screen, good keyboard, good trackpad. There's not much to differentiate, frankly, Chromebooks, but this is absolutely one of the leaders now in the Chromebook field. Maybe the best one out there if you want to spend less than $1,000. Samsung Chromebook 2 a buy. Thank you, everybody. Wow, what a fast show. Brian Burnett, we appreciate your contribution. Chad Johnson, Miriam Jouar, always great to see
Thanks
you.
for
Safe
having me
travels in
again.
Barcelona. And thanks to you for joining us. We put all our reviews up on YouTube as individual reviews along with the full show so you can share it with a friend. YouTube.com/beforeyoubuy. You can also download it on our website, twit.tv/BYB. Our email, byb@twit.tv. Email us if you'd like to suggest a product that we could review in future episodes. We have some good ones coming up. I just bought the $99 FIO X1 high-res audio player. Take that, Sony, with your $2,000 Walkman. We reviewed that earlier. And I also have coming up next week, or maybe the week after, I'm going to do a Steadicam for your DSLR. And lots of great products. But there is a little bit of a change coming up in Before You Buy. We're moving our production day to Fridays and hosting it from this point forward. I've added a title to your Father Robert Ballasare will be taking over the show, but I will be on each and every show. I have a review. I like to review stuff, so I'll have a review for you every week. But Father Robert will be taking over. What time is the new record time? 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2200 UTC if you want to watch Before You Buy in production from now on. That's starting not this Friday, but a week from Friday. Thanks to all our contributors. Thanks to you for watching. Remember, you got to watch before you buy. I'm Leo Laporte. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.